I've fixed some problems with the Psion Organiser 2 recreation. So if I compare it now to the P250 that I swapped the ROM on, if you turn it on you get the copyright message, you turn this on you get the copyright message followed by the main menu. For some reason I haven't implemented the cursor, so I can only press keys on here. So if I press T for time, you can see that the time displays very similar to that, but it's not counting up, and that's because the real-time clock hasn't been either emulated or the hardware hasn't been fitted. I'm going to put a hardware clock chip on here so that it can turn on for alarms, and I haven't got one yet, it hasn't arrived, so I haven't fitted it. But you can see the display works, the on key works now, and that was a bit of work because that's actually a hardware button which I'm running off the battery voltage so that you can turn it on when it's off. It's the only line that's there when it's off. I know these two are running the same code because the emulator is running the 3.3 ROM file for the XP, and that's the one that I burnt into the P250, so I know these are running exactly the same code. So if I go to save and I save test, let's delete that. Delete key works, got to give them a bit of a shove. T, E, it's probably because the keyboard scanning isn't running at the right rate. So if we save that and then go back with find and hit enter, you can see test is there, then the end of the pack, which is exactly what this will do. If I save, you get test, and then you do find, hit enter, test, end of pack. So that's good. This does have the bugs of the emulator in that the calculator doesn't seem to calculate anything, everything comes out as 0. To get to that, what I can do is I can press C twice, go to copy, delete, because I can't use the cursor in the menu. Now the only thing that will happen when I press C is it will go to the calculator, which is what I can do there using the cursor. And obviously if I go 1 plus 2, it's 3. Unfortunately on my emulator I go 1 plus 2 and it says it's 3. That's interesting, it was coming up as 0 before. Anyway, I'm pretty sure 34 times 5, 0. Yeah, so 34, well 334, let's do the same. 34 times 5, 170. So there's some sort of problem. One of the instructions isn't being emulated, I think, somewhere, and that's causing that to fail. So when I was creating the emulator, it's quite surprising how much of this code will run, as you can see here, with one of the instructions or one or more of the instructions not actually working properly. So it's quite surprising how far through the code you can get before you hit an instruction that isn't used very often and then goes wrong. So if I do that find again, so the test is stored in RAM. So within the Pico, it's got quite a lot of RAM in there, 264K I think of RAM. Within there I've allocated 32K of RAM, and that's where that's stored. What I'm going to do, it's not there, it's on the other PCB. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the two chips here, serial EEPROM chips, and dump that 32K into there when it's turned off. The problems I had, the keyboard was wired up wrong, just a couple of problems. I wired it up wrong, and also I had a problem with one of the global labels in KiCad. I had a lowercase p instead of an uppercase P. So I've put wires on to correct that. So there's definitely going to have to be another version of PCB, I think, because it's a bit delicate with those wires. I had to use very fine wire because the corrections had to be done on this side of the board. And that's where the keyboard sort of rubber carbon contact keyboard thing is sitting. So I couldn't use this blue wire, it'd be too large I think, so I used something smaller. And obviously I need to do some more with the hardware, and the beeper's not there, and if you turn that one off it goes off, if you turn this one off it doesn't, stays on. These are debug values of ports and things, so when I press a key it's yeah, it's not turning on again either because it hasn't gone off. I do have the circuitry to do it, I just need to write the code. But yeah, if I turn that off, everything else seems to work as the emulator I had on the command line when I was writing this. So the arrow keys work, you can go down through the menu. Info works. The scrolling's a bit slow if I compare it with this one, but that's simply the timing of the interrupts that I've put in there. And I haven't optimised the emulator for speed yet. I don't know whether it'll be able to run at the same speed. It sort of might. You've got about 100, 120 instructions per instruction to actually run at the same speed, so it might work. I think part of the scrolling delay is the number of interrupts I'm issuing per emulator loop. I can up that and then it will run faster. But also I think the display currently is quite slow because I had display problems. That was another problem I found on the board. I'd actually failed to connect the least significant bit of the I2C slave address, so that was just floating, so occasionally it would just stop working. Once I'd grounded that, it's working pretty well, but that was a PCB fault again. And I think because of the problems I had with the display, I've slowed that down a bit. I think I can run that considerably faster, but that's just code, isn't it? So, but there you go, it's running basically as an organiser. All the keys work. You can actually, if we go and save something, I can actually save P, and then the shift works. P250. 0 doesn't work. Y works. Oh, that's interesting. Delete works. I need to put a cursor in there. Yeah, don't know what's going on with shift 0. That's a strange one. Yeah, oh well. Shift works. I mean, everything should work because I'm emulating the hardware. I'm taking the hardware on my PCB and then presenting the signals that the code is expecting, the organiser code. So everything should be absolutely exactly correct. I'm not sure why. So yeah, shift is working. So you can do R plus and you can do these, but you can't do 0. Okay, maybe that's something to do with the problem I've got. Yeah, everything's working. Maybe that's to do something to do maybe with the reason that the calculator's not working. I can save that. All that garbage. Be nice if I had a back on this case. This is rocking about a bit. Yeah, there you go. That's what I saved. End of pack. But anyway, that's sort of broken the back, I think, of this board. I mean, there's obviously things to do like the real-time clock. Need to hook that in and emulate the hardware that the original organiser had. One thing I haven't done is I haven't tried running the LZ ROM in the emulator, so that's probably going to uncover a whole can of worms. And then have a look and see if I can get the slots working. That'll be interesting.